Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. Now, in a big move towards recognizing the genocide of Kashmiri Pandits and addressing a long-pending demand for justice for Kashmiri Pandits, the Jammu and Kashmir Police has reopened Justice Ganjoo murder case nearly 34 years after the retired Sessions and High Court judge was shot dead by terrorists in broad daylight in Srinagar. So 3 decades later, the state investigation agency of the Union Territory has now initiated a fresh probe. It has also sought public assistance to unearth, quote, the larger criminal conspiracy in the case. First up, a brief reminder of what this case is all about. So Justice Neelkanth Ganjoo is the slain retired judge of Jammu and Kashmir Sessions Court and High Court. He was shot dead by terrorists in broad daylight on November 4, 1989 in Srinagar when he was 67, just after the retirement from High Court. He was targeted because he sentenced JKLF founder Maqbool Bhat to death in the 1960s. JKLF founder Maqbool Bhat was sentenced to death for the murder of Inspector Amar Chand. Supreme Court later upheld Maqbool Bhat's death penalty in the year 1982 and he was finally hanged in Tihar jail in Delhi in 1984. Now this move becomes important because for years there has been no relief or action from even courts of the country to investigate these cases, despite in some high-profile cases like this one, admission on camera by the accused like Yasin Malik and Bitta Karate. In July 2017, the Supreme Court rejected a petition seeking investigation of the killings of Kashmiri Pandits during this period. The bench said that evidence is unlikely to be available because of the passage of time. In September 2022, last year, the Supreme Court also refused to entertain a plea seeking probe into murder of Advocate Tikalal Taplu in 1989. Same year, the Supreme Court refused to entertain a PIL seeking a probe into these killings, others as well, and rehabilitation of those who had to flee the Kashmir Valley. The bench left it open for petitioners to go to the Union government instead for redressal. And finally, in November 2022, the Supreme Court dismissed a plea which challenged that earlier 2017 order on the genocide probe, closing the door, at least the legal door, completely. Now, this is interesting because in the 1984 anti-Sikh riot case in Delhi, an SIT was formed by the Supreme Court despite much passage of time. Now, the reopening of the Justice Ganjoo case is a big step towards recognizing the genocide of the Kashmiri Pandits and addressing a long-pending demand for justice, which as I mentioned, has been going unheard even in the courts of Indian legal system. So this will, of course, be that step in that long-pending demand. There is also an improved scenario, especially from the point of view of security and terrorism on ground, which is also giving agencies the time and space to probe these old cases. And we are told the state wants to unearth the larger criminal conspiracy behind these murders that triggered the genocide and the exodus. So coming up is the debate on this case being reopened. Will justice finally be served as far as these families are concerned?
The pain of reopening the old wounds, the underlying hope remains that justice will prevail.
भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार ने पहले से ही कहा था कि जब ये जो त्रासदियां हुई हैं उनकी जांच कराना जरूरी है.
Joining me on the show is Amit Raina, who is spokesperson of the organization Roots in Kashmir, has been fighting for these cases to be reopened or investigated properly for many years. Utpal Kaul is international coordinator, Global Kashmiri Pandit Diaspora. Ashutosh Tiplu is son of Tikalal Tiplu, who was also murdered by JKLF terrorists in Kashmir in 1989. Ashutosh ji, why don't I start with you? How do you look at this opening of investigation of Justice Ganjoo's murder, and does this give you confidence that something can happen in Mr. Taplu's case as well?
Thanks for calling me. Uh, the opening of Ganjoo's case, what can I say? We are still waiting justice for last 33 years. Now, Mr. Ganjoo's case is opened, and we don't know what is going to happen in this case. As for my information, Government of India has appealed all the Kashmiri Pandits who has witnessed the killing of Mr. Ganjoo. But I will tell you one thing: no Kashmiri Pandit was standing there when Mr. Ganjoo was killed. So how can a Kashmiri Pandit can give his witness for his killing? Yeah, those people who were standing there belongs to some other community. Does government hope that they will all come in front and will tell that yes, Mr. Ganjoo was killed by this person? Still surprised that why government wants this when everyone knows that Mr. Ganjoo was killed by the JKLF, Jammu Kashmir Liberation Front.
Yes.
And who were this Jammu Kashmir Liberation Front? It was Yasin Malik, Bita Karate, and Nalka Javed. And why they are asking us to give us the proofs?
But don't you
That's
think,
the email.
Ashutosh, I understand your point, but don't you think this is just the start of that process? That when an investigation is opened, it would be natural for the investigation agencies to ask for this. Whether they get something out of this is another matter. I am sure and I hope they will not depend, the entire investigation will not depend on just somebody coming forward. There would be other evidences put in place.
Yes, we hope so. We hope so. We are very eager to know what will happen to this case. Like other cases are already in the court in Jammu. But nothing has been done so far. So now this Kashmiri community is hoping that this government, this current government, if they are awakened after 33 years, and let us see what will be the result for this. But I have very little hope. I am not seeking it as that. Okay, now everything will be open and everything will be justice will be given to the country.
I understand. It would be difficult to put together this investigation, at least criminal investigation, because of so much time that has gone by. Utpal Kaur, you want to weigh in on this? Is this at least fundamentally a good step, even if the investigation may be hard? Or do you feel that it has already come this is too little too late?
Thank you very much, Shivani, for inviting me. I welcome this step, and I may tell you, Kashmiri Pandit community was waiting for last 34 years that this nation will rise, and then there will be some investigation of our genocide. Nearly 2,000 Kashmiri Pandits were butchered, killed in Kashmir. I can never forget few dates like 14th of September when our beloved leader Tekalal Teplu was assassinated outside his home. I can never forget. I still remember the day, 4th of November, when Justice Neelkanth Ganjoo was assassinated in Hari Singh High Street, just 600 meters from court. So, and also 27th of December, when prominent leader of Anantnag, Premnath Bhat, was assassinated. They were the face of Kashmiri Pandits, and then the exodus of Kashmiri Pandits started in December, January, and everybody knows 19th of January was the Black Night, which our community will never forget. But question is that whether really this will work. And as Amit Rainaji is sitting here, and nearly 3-4 times we have gone to Supreme Court, and we can request Supreme Court of India, we can request through you to Chief Justice of India that now we have lot of evidences. We have unreported Kashmir filed 750 interviews of victims and their families, and 32, we totally remember everything. There are newspaper photographs of Neelkanth Ganjoo, how he was for more than 1.5 hours. We have doctors, when the dead body was brought to SMHS hospital, how the 3 bullets came out from his shirt. And there are so many, everybody knows what happened. There is a police that they can get these police officers because there is a hard evidence against these
Okay,
terrorists.
so you believe that symbolically and fundamentally, substantially too, this is something that can yield results. Amit, I want to come to you as well. Now, rightfully, Mr. Kaul mentioned that you've been knocking on the doors of none other than the Supreme Court, wanting to get relief and rehabilitation, or at least some sense of justice and closure as far as these cases are concerned, because it still boggles the mind that some of these dreaded names were on camera to confess their killings and multiple killings in the case of Yasin Malik and Bitta Karate, but really nothing happened. Such was the ecosystem at that time. But how do you feel today when the government is reopening this case after many attempts in the Supreme Court that continued to deny your petitions to be heard in this matter?
See, the irony of the matter is a judge who delivered justice to hundreds of families. Today, his own is awaiting justice for 34 years. That's the truth of the matter. While judiciary may have failed in its duty, I haven't understood what stopped executive from fulfilling its duty. What we were asking from Supreme Court would have been easily fulfilled by the executive itself. Now, we welcome the opening of case of Justice Neelkanth Ganjoo, but it is too little, too late. For a reason that one, you still haven't, if you want to deliver justice, then only why Neelkanth Ganjoo? Thousands of Kashmiri Pandits have been killed in Kashmir. All the families of all these victims need justice. The entire community needs justice. You need to find out the reasons that led to the genocide and ethnic cleansing of Kashmiri Pandits. The Lassa Kaul died on duty, Neelkanth Ganjoo died on duty, Maqbool Bhat died on duty, 4 Air Force officers died on duty. You have not been able to even convict Yasin Malik on the case of 4 Air Force officers who have been killed, where witnesses are available, where it's been High Court is the case is going on in High Court. Now, unless and until you do not fast track the investigation and fast track the cases and make it time bound, probably it will be, वो कहते हैं हिंदी में कि वो घाव को खुरीदने वाला काम है. Unless and until you do not commit that you will fast track the cases, you will fast track the court prosecution, nothing is going to come out of it. And you need to form an SIT. You need to form an SIT to investigate all the cases where you think it is possible to at least I
but
can understand that.
Don't you feel that this would be the initial step towards that too, that more such cases will be reopened or reinvestigated or investigated properly now? This is just the start.
There are two things one needs to find out. One, that is justice to the families of who have been martyred in Kashmir. Second is justice to the entire community by finding out the reasons that led to the genocide, addressing those concerns, so that if you want Kashmiri Pandit community to go back and live in Kashmir, you have addressed those concerns. Now, for 34 years, you have not even bothered to change the nomenclature from migrant to displaced. You don't want us to call us ethnic victims of ethnic cleansing, genocide. It may have international issues, but you could at least could have called us displaced. You have chosen not to even use that word. So, and now you pick up a case, an isolated case. Again, I say welcome step. Something is better than nothing. But there are many more cases which are awaiting justice.
Many more cases and of course many more things that need to be done. As you very rightly said, there needs to be a larger acceptance. An organization like yourselves have been pushing for the genocide to be acknowledged. Unless we do that, it is not going to be possible to look into the reasons or accept the realities of the Kashmiri Pandits at that time and today. Taplo ji, मैं आपके पास दोबारा आना चाहती हूँ. I want to understand from you. You feel that yes, it will be difficult to prove this case, and at least asking the public at large to come out as witnesses is going to be futile. But I want to still understand from you, what is it that you would want to see happen in future now that this beginning is being made? I know it's been a long time coming, and I know that justice has been delayed. Justice delayed is justice denied. We all accept that, we understand that. But what is it that you would want to see happen from here on?
We have one case very clear that Yasin Malik has killed 4 squadron leaders. So he has not been still given any sentence. So what you expect Kashmiri Pandits, the cases which are very neat and clean. Our one more martyrs, Premi ji, his son is fighting case for his father for last many years in Jammu court. What has happened to them? Nothing has been happened to them. I'm telling the day government of India will hang Yasin Malik because his case is now listened by the judges and everything. Now they are why they are delaying the judgment. So this is the problem with us community because we were thinking that BJP, which is pro-Indian, pro-Hindus, and more than 7 lakh, 8 lakh Kashmiri Pandits were thrown out from the valley. For last 34 years, nothing positive has come to the Kashmiri Pandit. No one is ready to listen us. We even Amit Rana, me also went to the Supreme Court
Yes.
where Gaurav Bhatia fought for us. And they are telling us simply, look, this is now old, more than 27 years. It is very hard. This is Supreme Court is telling to us. It is very difficult to find the proofs. Now, how can we justify ourselves? How can we bring our proofs to the Ganjoo's case? Now, I agree with Utpal Kohl ji. Yes, there are records with the Jammu and Kashmir. The doctor who inspected the bodies who were killed. So, but what has happened? All the proofs, government of Jammu and Kashmir, they are having everything. Every police department they have all these such proofs that who killed him. I am very sorry to say it is very early to say that now government of India is very serious looking into
Okay.
this. The day Yasin Malik is given a death sentence, we will believe that now
Okay.
government of India is
Well,
serious about it.
you're absolutely right. I understand, the point of view that you're putting across because it's difficult, I'm sure, for anyone in your positions and all three gentlemen that I'm speaking to feel any sense of, closure or jubilation because of just how much time has gone through and, the fact that even this we don't know where it exactly leads. Mr. Kaul?
Sure.
Yes,
Shivani,
Raina?
We are.
the problem is if you look at the way Supreme Court dismissed the petition of Kashmiri Pandit. It was very strange. They said 27 years have passed by. It will Supreme Court to decide whether witnesses and proofs would be available. It was for the prosecution as well as the investigating officer to come to the Honorable Court and say, sir, this is not possible.
Yes.
They pre-assumed. Why was it pre-assumed? God knows. Because immediately after that, they go and give 3 judgments. One is the 84 Sikh right, which was 7 years earlier than Kashmiri Pandits. They go and give a judgment on whether second bullet was fired on Mahatma Gandhi on 30th January 1948. They go and pass an order to investigate on Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose disappearance at Formosa, today's Taiwan. So you could hope to find witnesses, proofs on second bullet of Mahatma Gandhi, which is a 75-year-old case. You could expect the same on Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, which was 80-year-old case in some other country. And you believed in a case where witnesses are alive, where investigation officers are alive, where doctors are alive, where there is a documented evidence, and Yasin Malik has gone on record on BBC saying
To
that
confess.
he killed, that he was person responsible behind the death of squadron of the 4 Air Force officers
No, exactly.
and Neelkanth Ganjoo.
I-
And you
you
still
know,
have
it
not
is-
been able to take it
I
forward.
absolutely
So
get your
there is
point,
a
and there is a
sinister-
question that goes to the courts of the country as well as far as this matter is concerned. Why even go back to the cases you're talking about? In 1984 anti-Sikh riot case that I mentioned at the start of this debate, they did form an SIT despite multiple decades having passed. That's because the deliverance of justice or the to search for justice in itself is important, regardless of what comes out. Mr. Kaul, I'll give you the final minute. Yes, Mr. Kaul.
Yes. Let me say that it is not of 2-3 people, Gunju or Tikal or Tiklu. We have more than 2,000 Kashmiri Pandits killed. 20,000 houses were burned. 450 temples were destroyed. We have lost monetarily 45 billion US dollars. Our land is nowhere. Our business was finished. There should have been so motor case by Supreme Court Chief Justice to see the justice for Kashmiri Pandits. And we have not seen it for last 34 years happening. And
Yes.
whole nation should rise and see how these Kashmiri Pandits who were hounded and who became victims of, they are victims of generational genocide, but last 34
Absolutely.
years of genocide, they have seen we need justice, justice and justice.
Oh, absolutely. There are, of course, questions to those who were in governance at that time and in the subsequent 30 years, to the courts at that time and in the subsequent 30 years, and the larger public as well. Why is it that this case was not looked at with the same lens, legally and otherwise, as were other cases? But let's just hope, and I thank you, gentlemen, for joining me. Let's just hope that this is a beginning of that justice to be finally served in whatever measure it can, and for the larger acceptance of what happened in Jammu and Kashmir at that time. On that